Okay, it seems fine now. See, okay, so what Pratik was telling, anyhow, I was supposed to cover that topic, but I thought like before that we'll finish overriding. So let me start with the scanner and what it is telling. In Java, we need to take Satyajit, you are there, right? Satyajit?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, okay, fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. So in Java, right, there are instances where you need to take input from the user, and then we call that application as an interactive application, because interactive means application is asking you something, you provide something, and then again application process that result, and it gives out the result. So these things, the interactive applications, what in which case we need to provide input to the user, input to the application, we need to use some certain kind of APIs. Java has, there are two ways in which you can take input from user. Mainly there are two. There are numerous ways, but what you will be using and what it will be used is only two ways mostly. And the ways are, the thing is in Java, right, when you type from your keyboard, it goes through a process, and the process is something like this. So what happens, this is your application, Java application, where you write a Java application and you expect input from the user, and this is your keyboard. So you type something, suppose application asked you enter your name, okay, to check the number of characters in your name, or enter your age, and I'll let you know whether you are eligible to give vote or get married or not. So this keyboard, right, this keyboard, when you type something, it directly does not go into your application. It never happens like this. The thing is, it goes to an intermediate buffer. Okay, this is called the buffer, and this buffer is provided by the JVM, the Java Virtual Machine, that is the Java. And this buffer, actually it gets the data from the keyboard by IO operation, that is the input output operation. And this input output operation is something like, whenever you type something here, it goes to the buffer, the Java buffer, through the input output operation, that data bus and all these things. So you don't have to worry how it happens. And then from buffer, our Java applications read that. Okay, so uh, our Java, whenever I need to get the input from the user, the API what I will be using is of a buffer API, and this buffer API is provided by the JDK libraries. And there are two ways in which you can get it. So these buffer APIs, there are two main APIs. One is called buffered reader, and one is scanner. This buffer reader is in IO package, means java.io, and scanner is in java.util. This belongs to this package. So whenever you use scanner, you have to import Java util libraries, and if you're using buffer reader, you have to use the Java IO. So whenever you need input, you have to use either of these classes, and these are the libraries provided by the JDK, that is the Java, to read from the buffer, and the buffer gets from the keyboard input. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay, now see how we can use it. So first I will show you buffer reader, then I will show you the scanner way. So let get it go. So com dot input example. Okay, so first way I'm writing like the first way to take input. So I need input from user that okay, input your age and it will tell you whether you are eligible to cast a vote or not. And the condition is that it should be greater than 18. That's all, very simple. But I need to take the input from the user now. So first we need to write main method, and the first thing what I need to do is I will be using the buffered reader. And so buffer reader br equals to new buffer reader, and this buffer reader takes input. This input is whenever we read some data, right, it always comes as a stream of character. It does not come in a chunk like it will ask you for put a string and you put hello world, I am this and that, and this entire string, right, when you enter it, it does not come as a string, it comes as a stream. So what do we need to do is that we need to create a object again, input stream reader ir equals to new input stream, and this one it takes an argument as system.in. This system.in, so this line, this system.in is nothing but it tells that wherever you are running, in whatever environment you are running, take the system's input. That is nothing but your system's input is nothing but the keyboard, right? So it will take the input from your keyboard, that is the system.in, and this it will convert it to the stream, and we need to pass this ir object what we have created here to this buffer reader. So now this buffer reader, what it will do, that it will take those input stream and it will put into the buffer reader. Now I can ask the user that okay, enter your name. So first we will take that only, and string name equal to that br, whatever the object we have, br. So we'll take br dot read line, and what it will does is it will throw an exception, so I'll just cover it right here, like throws IO exception. I'll tell you later about this exception. So this string name equal to br dot read line. So this read line method, what it does is whatever you type, it gets stored in this br object, and dot read line method, what it does is it calls on that, it gives you the output of that one. So if I run it, sorry, I will print it like name what you have entered is, will print that name, and let's see. So it is asking me enter your name. I'll put name Divakar, and name what you have entered is Divakar, right? So it is working perfectly fine. Now how to get the this is something like okay, the string what you have entered, right? So string name equals to this. But what if I want the integers, I want a number or something like that. I will ask okay, enter your age. In that case also the problem will be like it will always be string only. The br.readline will never give you the integer, it will always give the string only. So what do we have to do is we have to convert that. So I'll write something like input, and input integer, it will not be integer, it will be string only, but we have to convert this input into integer. So we'll write like int age equal to integer dot parseInt, and we need to provide this input here. So age, what I'm doing, so input I'm getting as a string only, be it number or anything, and then I will parse it into the integer. This is how we parse it, and then now I have a age. So I'll say okay, if age is greater than 18, you can cast your vote. Okay, right? So we'll run this. Enter your age. I'll give 5. So you'll say you cannot cast, right? And if I see give 85, it'll say you can cast your vote. That means it is taking the input, right? And I can even print that. So we'll see, like, enter your age 18, and it will say it's 18 should be greater than 18, so you cannot cast the vote, right? Your age is 18. Perfect. Now the problem will come here is that it is asking for enter your age, and instead of age I'll provide ABC. What you will see is that it will throw an exception, that it is input is string ABC and you are trying to convert it into integer, and there is no way you can convert ABC into the integer. So you have to handle these things, and this I will cover in the exception things. Okay, so this is the one way to get the input from the user. The second way is using scanner class, and we'll okay, now in second way it's pretty similar to that, and in this case we'll create one scanner sc equals to new scanner, and we have to provide this again the system dot in. Once we have this scanner, actually it is very easy to use, and as you can see it is in Java util scanner, and that was in Java IO buffer reader. So that was in Java IO, and this is in Java util. And once you create this scanner sc, you can directly take input integer or double or anything. Here what is the problem is you need to get everything as a string only. You cannot get it as a string integer or anything. But in scanner you can directly get into the integer or something. So suppose you expect like enter your age. So you can do something like int age equal to sc dot next int. So if you directly do that, it will directly convert your input into the integer only. You don't have to take it as a string and then pass it into the integer. And your age is and it will work as it is. Okay, so your age is 12, and if you want to your name also, so you can enter your name and string name equal to sc dot simply do next. You can do next line also, that is also the return type, as you can see, string only, or even next also. So the difference is it finds and returns the next complete token from the scanner, but in this case next line it returns the I mean there is a little bit difference, you can read about this. So either you can do next or next line, and it will give you the your so it will tell you everything. So your age 12, your name, so your name is Divakar and your age is 12, right? Pratik, do you see how it works?
Yes, I see, but you can, there is in line 9, there is a left side one message. I can't understand what message is there.
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
You have to close
Yeah.
this.
Oh, okay.
Now it will go. Why actually the thing is, this is like a resource. Why I'll tell you this, why it is telling that resource. Actually what happens, right, when you write this statement, it actually makes a connection to your buffer, your JVM, right? It creates a connection between your hardware, where exactly your files are present or data are present, that buffer to your application. It creates a connection, and if you do not close that connection and you have used it, your input and all these things, you're supposed to close this connection. And if you don't close it, it will keep piling. Suppose again you create one more scanner, take input, again you create, and you are not closing it all, right? It'll keep piling and you'll make your system slow, and eventually someday it will crash as well. So it's always good to close your this one. And that is not the error, that is a warning. Okay, that was not the error. So if you just this one, right, it will simply say that
Yeah.
resource was never closed, you are supposed to close it.
Okay, sir.
Is it clear now?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I was thinking, I'll cover the exception portion only. I think constructor and overloading everything is done. So we'll do one thing. We'll create. We'll copy this one only, and we'll see what exactly the exception is and how to handle the exception. Okay. What is its problem? Now, thing is, yeah, I'll see the code what I have written here. Okay, better I'll not go with this. Suppose what I'll say. We had covered array, right? So it'll print 10, 20, and 30. Okay, which is perfectly fine. I've created an array of 0, 1, 2, 3, 3 elements and position wise 0, 1, and 2, right? And I am doing just using for each loop. I am printing those 3 elements. Okay, which is perfectly fine. What if these elements are just wait a second. Okay, so what if I try to put an element at 5th position? What do you think it will happen? I need an answer. Prateek, Satyajit, anything?
I think it's print a position 4 as a 0, or else you have to make a new integer as a 5.
What exactly 5 here? Can you tell me what is 5 here? What does denote? What does it denote?
It denotes as a position of 100 number.
Now it denotes the position, right? And the ARR array
Yeah.
what I have created, what is the size I have allocated to it? 3.
It's
Right.
a 3, so we have to change that.
right? And if I put on the fifth element, Java will, Java will not understand that why, I have created the position till three only, and they had allocated the memory till three only, but I am telling put element on fifth, right? So it will not accept this, right? Compilation it will happen, but when I'll try to run it, it will give some kind of exception. Are you with me, Satyajit?
Yeah, I understood.
Right? So this line, till this line it will be fine. There is no problem. But as soon as this line will get executed, it will give an exception as array index out of bound exception. This array index out of bound exception is an exception where you want to put an element out of their index. As I have created this, see, when you write this line, right? Actually in memory this happens. I think I had explained you previously, right? There is no memory for element 3, 4, 5, 6. And what I am trying to say? I am trying to say, okay, at fifth position, you put some element and there is no fifth position exists at all. So Java will throw an exception. And the exception categorized to is array index out of bound exception. And as you can see here, it will say array index out of bound exception, and you are not supposed to put element at the fifth position because that position does not exist at all. And if I make it as a 6, it will work perfectly fine. Okay, so what are these things? These things are the exceptions which Java does not understand, and there are plenty of exceptions are in Java. There could be numerous. See, just imagine the simple one: int a equal to 5, int b equal to 0, int c equal to a divided by b. Print c. What do you think will happen in this case?
It will say cannot divide by 0.
Yeah, so again it will throw an exception because Java does not understand that what exactly happens when we divide it by 0, because our arithmetic ALU is not meant to calculate such things where you can divide it by 0. So it will give arithmetic exception and the output will be like it's divided by 0. Okay, third thing, I'm just showing you the type of exceptions which can occur. Okay, that is the most famous exception is object obj equal to null, and I will try to print obj dot toString, suppose something. What will happen in this case? Or better, I will do one thing. I'll create a class ABC and I will create ABC obj equal to null, and then I will say obj dot toString, something I'm calling, or simply suppose public void display function in ABC class. And suppose if I do like this, new ABC, and if I call like this, and instead of this I'll call obj dot display, it will work perfectly fine. It will work. I am display function in ABC class, right? I'm creating one object and I'm calling this one. Suppose I'm not creating the class object and I'm simply assigning the null to it. I'm telling that okay, obj is a null, and then I am calling it, right? So what will happen? It will throw null pointer exception because the object what I am calling is does not hold anything. It's a simply null, and I'm calling the display method on that particular null object, and hence it will give a null pointer exception. Okay, Now there are certain ways, I mean, so what happens, right, when you write an application, big applications, there tend to be such mistakes, or such problems could be there, where value is coming as zero, or index is going out of bound, or there is a null value is there, and you are referring to it, and if there is no proper check on that, it will throw exception. And now the exceptions, you need to handle it. There's ways in which you can handle is using try catch. So whatever you think, right, which is probably it will throw exception, you put that into a try block. It's called try block, and then you catch it. You catch the exception, right? Exception caught, and the message is e dot get a message. Now what does this will do? So now if suppose this I am okay, suppose this try catch block is not present right now, and I've commented out, this will not get printed. Why? Because before that only here it gives the exception, and our application throw exception, and it does not print at all anything. So my application gets terminated at this place because it is throwing exception and it is not proceeding further. So there could be a situations where I need to avoid such things, that okay, even if there is a exception, let's proceed with other things, like okay, I am okay, or I print today's date. So I want to today's date I want to print, but I want to print after this only. Once it gets executed, I want to print today's date. But unfortunately, because of this null pointer, right, because this object is null, I'm not able to print these things. Now suppose I need to do this, I mean my business requirement is something like that. Even if this have some problem, let it not display this one, but if there is some problem with that, then also you proceed with these things, and please do print these things. So what we can do is that we will write these codes which tend to throw exceptions in that category. We'll write in try catch block. So try catch block is something like you write try, then the parenthesis start, write all those code which has probably can throw exceptions, then close that parenthesis, and then just immediately write catch, and it takes an argument as exception. It can take null pointer exception. You can write as either null pointer exception, or you can write as a parent class which is a exception. So you can write exception, and then it will caught that okay, exception caught this one, and then it will proceed further as nothing has happened. And as you can see here, it will something like this, exception caught, and this is the null. So it is telling that okay, it was a null pointer exception, and then it will say I'm okay, proceeding further, and today days is Wednesday, and this is this, and so on. So this becomes quite handy. Okay, this becomes quite handy in case of you need scenarios where you do not bother about whether this throw exceptions or not. I'm going to handle that exception and proceed further and go okay, fine, this is okay, and I need to print that today's date and all these things. Is it clear, Pratik?
Yeah.
Satyajit, it is fine.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Understood.
So the thing is, there are plenty of exceptions are there. I mean, the exception types are, if you tell me, it's something like the hierarchy of the exception is, the first is at the parent there is a throwable. I don't know how to type this. It's a horrible using the mouse. So at the top there is a throwable, and then there is a structure like it's error. Either it could be some kind of error or it could be exceptions. Now errors is something like, memory is out of memory, something like OOM. We call it as a short form as OOM, out of memory. There is no memory left and your application is bound to crash. There is nothing you can do. But in case of exceptions, no, just like null pointer exception has come or something, you can have options to restrict those problems, and there are two types. One is called the runtime and one is called the compile time. And this exception has, again, there are many classes. What you can write is, I'll tell something like, okay, I'll just, don't bother about this one. Here only in runtime, this null pointer exception, what you have seen, this null pointer, then, array index out of bound, array index out of bound, and there are many more are there, divided by 0, arithmetic exceptions. These are called the runtime exceptions. And the compile time is like file not found. If you are trying to read a file and that file is not there, then there is a SQL exception. You are writing an SQL connection, then it can fail. So these type of called the compile time, because Java can know whether a file is present or not while writing the code only. But runtime exceptions are something which even Java does not know whether you are referring to null or you are putting some element out of bound exception or something is happening. So these exceptions are called the runtime exceptions, and these exceptions are called the compile time. So these null pointer exceptions or compile time and all these things are a child of exception class. So if you say exception is the parent class of all the exceptions what is occurring in the Java, and their parent is throwable class. So it's like inheritance. Throwable is getting inherited by exception and this getting inherited by this one. Is it fine?
Yes.
Okay, so if you see here, exception, just let me attach the resource once again. Okay, now I think I can show you the hierarchy. So if I write here null pointer exception, which also, so if you see the parent, if you click on this, so if you see null pointer exception extends runtime exception, as I told you, it's a runtime exception, and then the runtime exception extends exception, and then exception extends throwable. So this is the hierarchy. Throwable is the parent one, and then from there the exception comes. From exceptions the runtime exception comes, and from runtime exceptions, these null pointer exceptions and this what I say, array index out of bound, and these sort of exception comes. Okay, so these type of exceptions you can handle it using try and then the catch. If you know what kind of exception it is going to throw, better specify such kind of exception, because here I know that it's a it will throw a null pointer exception only, and that is why I have put it as a null pointer exception. If I don't know, I'll put it as a exception only, because that is the parent one, and whatever kind of exception it throws, it can be caught. So for example, I'll just write something like this. I'll say, okay, ABC, suppose I am specifying that, okay, if null pointer exception throws, you catch it and it will work perfectly fine. I know exception caught and null. Suppose in that there is one more code, something like int a equal to 10 and int b equal to 0, and I say, okay, int c equal to a divided by b. So what will happen here? It will throw an exception again, and that will be arithmetic exception. Now what exception you're catching here? You're catching null pointer. You're not catching arithmetic exception, and hence it will fail. It will not print. It will say, okay, 1 second. Okay, it has proceeded. So 1 second. Let me write just below this. Okay, so this ABC, this here the exception will throw. So here arithmetic exception will be thrown. Just a second. हेलो, हाँ मैं थोड़ा बिजी हूँ, थोड़ा देर में कॉल करता हूँ, जगह रहेगा ना? हाँ नहीं, थोड़ा एक काम में है, मतलब मीटिंग पे 10 मिनट्स में करते हैं, ठीक है? जगह रहना थोड़ा, ठीक है? हाँ ठीक है. Okay, sorry. So this int c equals to a by 2, this arithmetic exception will be thrown here, and if that's why here I am catching the exception, but it will not work. It will terminate here only because it is throwing arithmetic exception which I am not handling it. So what do I need to do is I have to catch that exception again, and then I'll say exception caught get message. Okay, so now if you see exception caught this, I'm okay, and this is perfectly fine, it is working, right? So the thing what I am trying to say is here is you need to provide the exceptions. What are the things which can likely to throw here? So suppose in case this would have been at the top, and now if this throws exception, it will catch that, okay, caught null, right? So both kind of exception are getting caught here. Now instead of writing these two and instead of wondering that what kind of exception it will throw, let's better make it as a common, the parent one. This will catch any kind of exceptions occurs in Java, because this is the parent one. And now if you run this one at the first, or you make it this one at the top, it doesn't matter, it will catch every kind of exception, as you can see here, right? So this gives you a kind of generic exceptions what you can catch. So it plays a vital role to do that. And make sure you do not put the catch statement after this again something like null pointer, because this is a totally foolishness that you will be doing. And the reason is suppose this exception gets thrown here, being exception as a parent one, it will catch any kind of exception here happens here only. Is there any meaning that we need to put null pointer after that, right? So it's meaningless, and Java will never allow you to put such kind of code which is unreachable. This will never be reached, because all kind of exception whatever are thrown here, it will caught by exception, and you are not supposed to put this. You can always put this before this one, so that if null point exception happens, it can be caught here. If it is not null point exception, all the exceptions could be caught here. So this is perfectly fine. This will be caught easily. There is no problem with that. And this will work perfectly fine. So as you can see, this is, are you following the structure what exactly I'm trying to tell here? The exception hierarchy, any doubt, any questions here? Because this is a very important concept. I try to explain it very clearly, so that you don't have any doubt how the flow is, and while writing the code you should also not get confused with this. So is it okay, Satyajit or Prateek, Amika? I think you both came late, so you might have missed few things here. Anyways, if you can get in touch with, I think, Prateek or someone, they can explain you, or I'm recording the video, so maybe not today or some later day I can upload that one. So if you are interested, you can have it. But what I feel, you both guys are not taking it either seriously, or there is some, I might not be knowing that, but there could be some problem, like either you are not interested in the session, or is there any problem I can help you with? That would be fine. Because if I take sessions, I generally prefer that everyone should be take things seriously, because it's not about I am getting money, so I should just simply keep telling in 1 hour and just shut it down, and that's all. I expect you guys to learn. I expect you guys to get something out of it. You are spending time, I am spending time and energy, so it's better that. So is there any problem you guys are facing, not interested, or is it becoming too easy, or it's becoming too difficult? How is it? I want to know that. Yeah, you can tell, there is no problem. I think I'm not asking a big question or something like that, that you have to answer it. So is there any problem you are facing, you are facing, not interested in this Java session, or is it something like that? It's okay if you don't want to understand answer. That is perfectly fine. But I at least expect that, okay, as you know that session starts at 10. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we had to go to college. That's why we were late.
Okay, so you
So,
go to college. So generally, what time I mean, it's a general thing, like you will be late, or how is it? I mean, that's why I asked everybody's time that, okay, we're starting at 10. So is there any problem with that time?
no, there's no problem. Actually, today we had to go. That's why. So,
Okay, so from tomorrow, the timing will be, that is the 10th, 10 will be fine for you, right?
yeah, it'll be fine.
Okay, fine. So in any case, suppose you will be late or something, do let us know in that. That's why I created the group, so that there is no problem. I can shift the class from 10:30 also, or 10:15 also, and everyone will be know, right? Then they can all join at 10:15. I moved my office meeting to morning, just I can take sessions. So I stick to my plans, and the schedule. So you guys should be a little bit serious about timings and all. Don't mind about that, but I'm a little bit disciplined kind of person, where even I follow the timings, because see, it's your loss. No, starting you missed something, and you jumped into the middle of the session, and that will be little bit uneasy for you guys also. I mean, following up things, what I'm exactly telling, and all these things, right? It becomes difficult. So it's good that we all in sync up, and take sessions a little bit seriously. That would be fine for me also. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, fine. Yeah, this is all about the exceptions what you can catch, and you can uh, handle those exceptions. So I hope Amika and Jensi, you might have understood what exactly the exception is. Just I'll quickly tell you about this. The exceptions are such situations where Java does not understand what exactly is happening. Okay, just in case, simply if you think like, integer a equals to 10 is there and b equals to 0, and if you divide if you divide a by b, and which is nothing but 10 divided by 0, the computer system, the arithmetic logic unit, your core processor, is not made in such a way which can divide it by 0. The logic what it is written inside the ALU and all these things, it's not to handle such things. So Java will not let you do that, and it will quickly tell that okay, you are going to divide by 0, and which is not understandable by anything, so I will not let you do anything at all. And in such scenarios your application will crash and nothing will happen. So it's something like, you are putting, if I remove these codes, so now if I run it, it will never reach to this I am okay and today's date is this one, because this line only throws exception and my application gets stuck here only. But there are situations where this could be a mistake, or there could be that okay, I got my result as a 0 and I'm dividing it, and suppose the problem comes like okay, this throws exception, but then also I want to proceed with this one, I want to print this one and again go ahead with the date. In that case we have to handle these kind of situations, we have to handle this kind of exceptions, and for that we have this try catch block. And this is how we write it. You start with a try and then you write these codes, whatever is probable to throw the exceptions, and then you write catch and catch. I think you might have understood the hierarchy because by that time you guys has joined. So uh, this way you can handle the exceptions. And now if you see, it is printing I am okay and today is date this one, even though it is throwing that exception, and I'm catching it properly. So this is a way through which you can handle the exceptions which occurs. And there are plenty many types of exceptions. Null pointer exception is there, arithmetic exception is there, array index out of bound I covered in just 10 minutes back, that is there. So there are many ways through which you can do this. So read about it a little bit on internet also. You can find many tutorials also about exceptions, but this is overall what exactly exceptions are. Apart from this, you can write your own exceptions as well, and the way to write your own exception is something like this. So that is called the custom exceptions or user defined exceptions. So what I will do is a user defined exceptions. What I will do, in this one, suppose I want to have, I have a account in which I have some balance. So I'll say something like balance equals to 1000 rupees. In my account balance there is a 1000 rupees I have, and suppose I want to withdraw 100 rupees 10 times, and mistakenly I went to 11th time also, and the account will be negative, and I want to throw the exception, and the exception name should be like account balance is negative, and there is no exception such as in Java. I want to create my own. So what I will do is I'll create my own exception. So what is the way to create is write something like name account balance negative exception. So this is my exception name will be, and this will extends the exception class, and once it extends the exception class, now this will also behave as a exception class only, and inside that we will write a constructor as account balance negative, which will take a message, what kind of message you want to give. We'll call it as a exception message, and we'll call to the super. I'll tell you about the super, what exactly it does. So we'll forward this to the upper this exception, what this guy is telling. Okay, anyway, yeah, so this exception message, it will go to the exception and it will print that one. Now this is my custom exception, what I have defined it, and when I want to throw it is I'll write int I equals to 1. I want to withdraw the value from, so 11 times I'll go, and every time I will deduct the balance equal to balance minus 100. So 100 into 10, that will be 1000, and 11 time if I go it, there will be a problem, like, okay, balance cannot be negative. And if we'll check it, that if balance is less than 0, which is usually at the 11th time, so we'll see something like, and here I will say so withdrawn amount I'm giving as a 100. So 100 rupees every time will I'll withdraw it. So I'll, instead of this, I'll put it like withdrawn amount, and withdrawn amount is this one, and we'll say something like balance is, and the balance will print it. This will be our usual things, but before that we'll check if my balance is becoming negative, throw my exception. What exception I have written? Account balance negative, and what message I want to give, I can give it here. Balance cannot be negative, please deposit some money, something like that. I mean, you cannot withdraw the money sorry, throw new. So it's just like you are creating, it's nothing big fancy thing what I am writing here. 1 second. Okay, yeah. So there is nothing fancy about this one. So this new account negative exception is normal class, just like a public class, you write it, a normal public class, and which extends exception, that is inheriting the property of exception class, and it has a private constructor which takes an argument as a string, and we're passing that argument to the exception class. And here where exactly you are writing this one, you are telling that, okay, when this one happening, create new object of this new is nothing but new account balance, and you're passing this string as that one and this one. So if I run it 10 times, it will work fine, that okay, the balance is now 100, and because 100 has been withdrawn, and this is fine. And once it withdrawn amount 100, balance becomes 0. After that you will see exception main, and exception is account balance negative exception, and balance cannot be negative, please deposit some money. So this becomes quite convenient to write your own exceptions, and even again you can handle these exceptions by writing something like try, and you can write something like catch, and you can write your exception name, see, exception name, and you can print that message, whatever message you are printing here. So now it will not throw the exception, but it will catch, throw, but it will catch. So as you can see here, 10 times it has withdrawn money perfectly fine. At the end it is telling that exception caught and balance cannot be negative, please deposit the money into your account. So it's like same thing again, you are catching your, and this exception is not by Java, mind it, this is what you have written. Okay, so this is called the user defined exceptions. What you can write, there are many kind of exceptions you can write in your, as per your convenience, and what exactly do you want to do, what kind of, in what situation you want to throw exceptions and all. Is it fine? Is it clear? Any question, any doubt?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Okay, so we had, there is nothing much in case of exceptions. So these, yeah, one more thing is which I wanted to tell about. So these exceptions, what these null pointer exceptions or number divided by zero, which is arithmetic exception, these are called the runtime. The compile times are something like. So compile time is something like you are taking input from the user. Just we had seen that example, right? So for taking the input from the user, we had written that buffer reader. Sorry, we have to write in that. So what we had done is buffer reader br equals to new buffer reader, and then inside that we had passed this new input. New input stream reader, and then inside that we put the system dot in, which is to take the input from the user. Just a few minutes back we had covered this. It's nothing. I am writing in one line only, instead of writing input stream equals to new input stream and this, and then passing that object into here and all these things, right? Instead of that, I just simply covered in this one. And when I ask user that, okay, enter your name, and we expect that, okay, user will enter the name, we do something like br dot read line. And the problem comes here, this code is perfectly fine, but still I'm getting an error that unhandled exceptions. It is telling that you are trying to do the IO operations, because this IO java.io, it try to get input from the user, and which is nothing but IO operation, input operation, input output operation. And since Java knows that you are going to perform the IO operations, and they're most likely to throw exceptions that, okay, your input output device is not ready, maybe your someone has disconnected your keyboard only, someone has if you're reading from your hard disk drive, someone your hard disk failed, any problem could be present there, right? So there are high chances that it will throw exceptions, and that's why the compiler, the Java compiler, is forcing you to handle this exception. This is telling, hey, you are going to take the input from the user, so better try to handle the exception. So we click on this, it will say surround with try catch. So it will force you to write the try catch block, and then you can write the then you can write the example, and it will ask you for the name. I'm not doing anything at all. So now it's like So it will print I mean name as Divakar or whatever you want to give. So these type of exceptions are called the compile time, and Java will ask you to write either try catch or to throw to the parent class. So there is two way through which you can do, and which is I'll remove this one. So when I written this one was, it was giving me two options. As you can see, surround with try catch and add throws exception. So here I am seeing now also the error has been gone. Here it is telling that okay, throws IO exception, and this is nothing but it is like whoever calls this method, main method, it will be thrown to that person. So it's a something like suppose you are writing a method as public void take input from user. This method you are writing, and you are writing these code inside that. So in this case, if you can surround with try catch also, and you can write like that throws IO exceptions. What does this mean is it tells that whoever is calling this method take input from the user, let them worry about this IO exceptions. I am not going to do any try catch block here. So whoever is calling, so when I will be calling this method, the compiler will tell me, okay, whatever the method you are calling, the take input from the user, it is most likely to throw IO exceptions. So better handle that. So if I call it here, make it static so I don't have to create the object. So if I write like take input from the user, it should say oh, this is weird. Okay, it is throwing exception, and oh sorry, because here I'm again chaining. Oh yeah, that's why I was wondering. Okay, so see this throw IO exception I'm telling, and I'm simply calling this method which it shouldn't have. If I remove this one here, and if I handle this using try catch block, it will not give me error, and it will work perfectly fine. It will print so whatever name you are so you take input from the user, you print it. So right now if I'm handling using try catch and I am writing the name, it is working perfectly. If I entered name, Divakar, it is printing because I'm handling here try catch. Instead of that, suppose simply I am telling okay, name equals to br dot read line, and I'm telling okay, no, I'm not going to handle this by myself, let the caller has to handle, and I'll give it. Immediately you will say here that it is telling me that okay, here unhandle exceptions. So here again I can propagate to the upper level who is calling this main method, or I have to handle it here. So now it will work like this. So either you can do here like this, or again you can tell okay, let other has to handle, and again it will work fine, and whoever is calling this method, which is the main method, that guy will have to handle this. So the in exception, the most important thing is to learn is chain propagations, how exception propagates. So learn about this chaining, what I explained, chaining and the hierarchy, which is very important in concept of exceptions. Is it clear? You will not find these things in books, so I hope just try to take time and understand these things, because you will get to know that okay, what does throw does, what do throw does, and all these things. But concept wise you will not get at many places how these things works and how to handle things, right? What is the significance of these things? They will tell you about this is what it does, but what is the significance? Why do we use it for that, right? It comes with experience, it comes with you when you write the code and all these things, right? So that becomes good. If any questions, do let me know, else I'll wind up the session for today. Anybody, any question? You guys ask very less questions. I don't know why. Maybe other trainings what I'm taking, they ask a lot of questions. I don't know whether I don't know the reason. I mean, what is happening? So it's okay. As long as you are okay, I'm okay. Fine then. If anybody doesn't have any questions, I will be winding on the session. Is that fine?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay then. See you tomorrow at 10 p.m. IST.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.